It's housed anywhere from 20 to 80 prisoners during that period, from 1912 to 1933, after they built the prison building. That was opened as a full-fledged military prison for the military. Correctional barracks is what they called it. Housed as many as 450 prisoners during that period. In 1933, the military started to send them up to go along with it. To the likes of Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, and the Birdman of Alcatraz. Just to name a few of the most infamous. Now the main prison building sits right up on top of the island. To the left of the main prison building there's a water tower. All the fresh water had to be brought out by barge, still does today. Directly below the main prison building is a long two-story building known as the Mat Shop. It was basically a laundromat. They did all the washing for the Presidio military base in that building. To the left of that, on the left side of the island, the four-story building you see was a factory building, basically a wood shop. They built office furniture there for the federal government. To the left of that, the building with the tall smokestack was the power plant built in 1907. Now during the time that this was a federal penitentiary, the federal government knew that it was possible to swim from Alcatraz to the mainland. In spite of the propaganda they told everyone. They knew it was possible to make this swim because the first person to make the swim was a lady in 1933 named Gloria Sagliano. She made the swim as a protest to the prison being put here. Since the prison's closed, there's been thousands of people to make this swim. Now, I don't recommend anyone jumping in the water and trying it. Water temperature on the average is 52 to 56 degrees, around 11 or 12 Celsius. And we get currents of up to 7 miles an hour. But if you're an accomplished swimmer used to cold water and fast currents, you can indeed make this swim. Now, because they knew it was possible to make the swim from Alcatraz to mainland, they took some precautions with their prisoners. They never allowed them to take cold showers so they wouldn't get used to the temperature of the pig. They fed them better than any other penitentiary so they'd be nice and fat. They never let them exercise, get rid of any of that fat. They also, for a period of about 7 years, never allowed the prisoners to speak to one another. Maximum silence was maintained on the rock at all times. In spite of these conditions, or possibly because of them, there were 36 people that attempted to escape from Alcatraz in 13 different attempts. To this day, the federal prison system insists that no one's ever escaped from Alcatraz Island. They do, however, admit in their own words that only 5 of those 36 people were what they term unaccounted for. Now, I don't know about you folks, but somewhere I'm missing something here in the translation. Either that or I guess I just don't really understand the prison system and the way it works. But unless I'm mistaken, if you're unaccounted for from a maximum security prison, that means you've escaped. So as far as I'm concerned, there were indeed 5 people to escape from Alcatraz. And once again, the building to our right with the tall smokestack was the power plant. To the left of the tall smokestack, you see a red square brick area that faintly still says warning, keep off on a facade. That was a gun emplacement originally that housed a big 15-inch cannon back when this was a fortress. 50,000-pound Brahmin cannon set up on top of that gun emplacement. Known as Union guns, they were pretty impressive cannons. Alcatraz boasted as many as 10 of these big guns in its arsenal. The 3-story building to our right was a bakery and warehouse. All the vegetation and all the soil on Alcatraz was brought here by the military. When they acquired this island, it was described as a desolate rock, incapable of inhabiting anything but seabirds. Today, there's over 1,000 different varieties of vegetation growing on Alcatraz. The next building you see, the 2-story hollowed-out building that we're coming up to, was originally an officers' club and commissary. In the 1930s, a 2-lane bowling alley was added to this building, and it was used as a recreation hall for the guards and their families. During the time that this was a federal penitentiary, as many as 70 families lived in Alcatraz at one time. Children would take the boat daily from Alcatraz to San Francisco for school. The next building you see, the 2-story white building with seagulls on the roof, was an electrical shop. To the left of that, right in the middle of the island along the waterway, what looks like a group of buildings put together with a passway leading through the center, is the oldest structure remaining on Alcatraz today. Completed in 1857, it's known as a sally port. Now, a sally port was a heavily fortified gate or entrance or exit to a fortress or castle. This sally port to our right now, when it was first built, was complete with a dry moat, a drawbridge, and cannons facing the entryway. The idea being, any enemy troops storming the dock, to gain access to the fortress on top of the island, would have to fight their way through this sally port, which apparently was no easy feat. The next building you see inside the dock here, this large building was originally built to be barracks for the soldiers. Known as the bomb-proof barracks with walls up to 10 feet thick, just the bottom half of the building was the original part of the barracks. Each one of the big square windows in the bottom of this building was meant to house a cannon. However, the cannons were obsolete before they were ever positioned there. The rest of the building was added in 1905 and used as part of the housing for the guards and their families. Above that, next to the lighthouse, is the hollowed-out remains of what used to be the warden's house, and before that, the commanding officer's house. Now, if you look to our right, you'll see a sign that says United States Penitentiary. Above it, it says Indians Welcome, and below it, it says Indian Land. From 1963 to 1969, the island sat abandoned. In 1969, a group of about 80 or 90 American Indians from different tribes around the country came in to go over Alcatraz. Their intentions were honorable in the beginning. They wanted to make Alcatraz an American Indian cultural center and college, and it was a good idea in the beginning. Unfortunately, by the start of 1970, a pretty rebellious group with other intentions had basically taken over. They stole all the copper pipe and copper wire off the island, sold it for scrap, burned down the villages, saw that were hollowed out. By June of 1970, the fugitive for the many, 2 people were injured, 1 person was killed, and at that time, the federal government removed the Indians from the island. The island again sat abandoned for another year, then it became part of the National Park Service, and it's been open on a limited basis ever since. Now, I covered a lot of territory about Alcatraz and its history in a relatively short period of time. There's an awful lot I didn't talk about, and I went very fast. If you have any questions regarding Alcatraz, feel free to ask us, and I can answer your questions. Folks, we don't mind if you use our blankets and things, but the least you can do is try and keep them dry, please, folks. Now, folks, if you look out in front of the boat, to the left you see another bridge in the bay. That is the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. Or Oakland-San Francisco Bay Bridge, depending on which side you live on. Most people just refer to it as the Bay Bridge. Now that bridge is not as famous as the Golden Gate Bridge, and to be honest with you, I don't know why. There's actually many reasons why that bridge should be more famous than the Golden Gate Bridge. The project was started 3 months after the Golden Gate Bridge project was started, yet it was completed 6 months before the Golden Gate Bridge project was completed. So it took 9 months less time to build a bridge that in many ways was harder to build than the Golden Gate Bridge. For instance, it's built from 5 different styles of engineering. To complete one long structure that's 8 1/4 miles in length as opposed to the 1.5 miles the Golden Gate Bridge covers. 3 of the 4 towers you see on the 2 suspension bridges were harder to build than either tower in the Golden Gate Bridge. While they are indeed 200 feet lower than the Golden Gate Bridge towers, they go 100 to 150 feet deeper into the base and they were harder to build. Another reason that bridge should be more famous than the Golden Gate, it had a little failure during the 89 earthquake. Part of the upper deck fell to the lower deck and 1 person was killed. At that time, pictures of that bridge are all around the world. Another reason that bridge should be more famous than the Golden Gate, it is the most traveled bridge in the world. On the average, 275,000 cars a day drive across that bridge. So as you can see, there's many reasons why that bridge should be more famous than the Golden Gate Bridge. But while the Golden Gate Bridge is no doubt the most photographed bridge in the world and probably the most famous, I'd be willing to bet the Bay Bridge is the most mistaken. Fact of it, if you take a picture of the skyline of San Francisco and include that bridge in your picture, take it home and show friends that haven't been here, I bet their first reaction would be, oh look, there's the Golden Gate Bridge. First you'd have to show them the other picture you took and correct them. The island you see in the middle of the bridge, around island with trees on top is Triple Point Island. To the left of that is the long flat island, which is Treasure Island, completely man-made, built in the 1939 World's Fair. The hills you see to our left are the hills of Berkeley, Oakland, and Richmond. Submarine alone. Built in 1943, she did 6 tours of duty in the South Pacific during World War II. Now part of the Maritime Museum, it's $7 a foot for it. I highly recommend a tour of that submarine. It's amazing to see what those 80 sailors went through fighting for freedom. Directly astern of that submarine is the Jeremiah O'Brien, a World War II Liberty ship like the type of ship I talk about in the beginning of the tour. Imagine building a ship like that in under 5 days' time with an average completion time of 14 days. Pretty amazing. This particular ship was built on the East Coast in 53 days, which is still very impressive. This ship served in the Atlantic and Pacific Theater of Operations. 58 years ago, was involved in the invasion of Normandy, D-Day. She was also there 8 years ago at the anniversary of that invasion. Sailed there and back under her own steam with 65% of the original crew on board. This ship is also part of the Maritime Museum. For a slight view, you can go aboard. You've seen the movie Titanic. You've already visually been inside part of this ship. The engine room scenes in the Titanic movie was the engine room of the Jeremiah O'Brien.